Okay, so here is my project. It is an interactive jumping game and it is called the Slime Trail. So basically, this game was created using Python's PyGame library in PyCharm's IDE. It's the entire premise of this game is similar to basically an infinite runner game where you jump over incoming obstacles. All the art in this game was made by me unless otherwise specified, including some of the art down here, where the animation of the slime actually moving was the sprite sheet was actually taken from itch.io by another artist, which is credited over here, and the background credit is over here because those are two things that I did not create or animate myself. However, all the text, all the labels, all the obstacles, the splash art for the incoming game screen, and everything else, it was in fact self-made by me. So here's a flowchart that I made that kind of, I suppose, kind of shows everything that the game actually does. So you start with the main class, there's some button classes and sprite classes. I decided to organize this game into different game states, which help organize like the code into like what it's supposed to be doing depending on where the user is. So for example, in the cover page, I have two other functions for the menu buttons and the quit buttons, but if the game state is in game, you kind of go to a different section of my code. So everything is more organized. So in the actual game itself, there is some features that I have listed over here. So the game window splits up into background, obstacles, movement, and events. So for the event in this game, so that it's not just like a boring infinite runner, I decided to make it so that the screen moves a little bit faster, so the background scrolling increases, so it appears as if the obstacles are coming quicker. So every once in a while, the game will just progressively get faster and faster, so it makes it more difficult on the user to keep getting the points that they want. There's also a collision feature for both the movement and, well, I guess the movement with the obstacles that are incoming. And for movement, there's basically only jumping. Um, yeah, so the obstacles have their own hitboxes, same with the slime jumping. The background is a scrolling background, which basically just means that the slime itself is stationary. However, the background behind it is constantly being like clipped and moved forward and then slid back. So it's essentially just scrolling infinitely. So it makes it feel like almost like an illusion, as if the slime itself is moving, but it's really not. And then obstacles are randomly generated with certain spacing. So they're essentially generated between what's like there's an RNG system with what's shown on the screen as well as something off screen. So like the span of numbers or pixels that the computer could pick for a random position of the obstacle goes off screen, and then it scrolls in with the background. And there's also adequate spacing so that it's not possible for like the user to like get five obstacles in a row and then you can't possibly jump over it. So to avoid that, there's like a minimum threshold that obstacles have to be a part of, like distance wise apart, so that a jump can be landed before another obstacle like comes. So that's just like making the game more fair. And there's a point system which essentially keeps track of how many points that the player has achieved, which is determined by the number of obstacles that go off screen onto the left. So once they pass the jump and they slide off, there's a counter that adds another point to the total score. So here's my GitHub for this. So essentially this is just like what I went in wanting to do, and basically just talks about like simple physics that you have to implement for like jumping, the reason why I added events, and then in the future what I really want to do, which is mainly just more events and more like double jumps or like higher jumps or like air obstacles and stuff like that, which are indefinite at this point because it's an infinite runner game. There's lots of things you can kind of do with this. So if you go to my GitHub, there's like a very simple demo video on how to play it. I will also be recording a quick play, like, yeah, a play video right now, but here's a demo as well. If there's no audio in this, there's no audio in the game, in fact, but yeah, this is like a quick demo video. And the game rules are also here. It's pretty straightforward. You press the space bar to jump or make the slime jump, and you press escape to pause or hit the menu or restart, etc., etc. So we can just do a quick test run here. So this is what it looks like. It's a small window. The art is again made by me. You're introduced with 3 buttons here. You can quit, which instantly closes it. You can go to the menu, which gives you a little rundown of the rules. Again, splash art made by me. Pretty proud of that. And the start button obviously begins the first initial like run from the user. So here's like some quick playing. It says under the score that you can press escape to pause. So let's just quickly try that. You can have the game paused, and then you can resume from where you began, but there's no like delay, which is something else I could also add. This is the game over screen, so when there's contact that happens between the obstacle and the slime like rectangles, so a collision is detected, it gives you a game over screen which says like how many obstacles or the points that they left, and you can restart back from here. There's also other things. So for example, here, if you click exit and then come back here, your score is reset because it's assumed that you don't want to continue the match that you were in already. But if you click resume, your score is preserved and your position on the game is also preserved. So again, that's basically an entire premise of this game. And again, the quit button at any given moment will just quit the application. So overall, that's the entire game. There's a demo video if you want to view this again, and it's all on my GitHub. So that was it for my entire software project for this year.